All right, we're back on another Sunday on our Black Media with the Political Spectrum. I'm Robert Bryant, and we have Dante with ISIS.
Hello, everyone. How you doing, family?
All right, all right. Well, you drive safe, like I said. If you need to go with sound only, that'll be fine. But before we get started with our topic today, anything you got for the first 10?
I mean, the first 10, the only thing I could talk about, is Miss VP Harris and her pick for Waltz.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it was a very interesting pick. I think Josh Shapiro would have been a better choice.
Right.
But we'll see how it all pans out. I must say she's now doing better in the polls. Actually, in three battleground states, if I read correctly, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, she has taken the lead over Trump. So I'll give her a clap for now. I think this is just a little bump for now. But I think when it comes down to policies, and hopefully she'll agree to all three debates, the American people will actually be able to sit back and decide which policies would be best.
Yeah, we have Jesus with us, who's joining us as a guest tonight. What we typically do is we start the first 10. So any political things you want to bring up in the nation or international, the first 10 minutes, then we go to our main topic. So really quick, just to jump on that, Dante. I think I was a Shapiro guy, but Waltz makes a lot of sense. The thing I like about Waltz is we're breaking the mold of just attorneys being in these spaces, right? So he's an educator, he's your next door neighbor, he's your Boy Scout dad. He checks a lot of boxes, but then he's a veteran with a lot of experience with governing and all that. So he's a very well-rounded pick. So the more I learn about him, the more I'm impressed. So Jesus, anything you want to comment on the VP pick or anything you got as a quick little thing that's going on that you want to mention?
No, I just want to bring additional attention to what we see happening in Ethiopia, and Sudan, and South Sudan, and the Congo, and how it's being ignored. And then let's take it on over to France. And so the racism that we still see, though we played again, I know that we all happy with regard to the Olympics and the celebration of the Olympics,
right.
But France has basically showed their racist side continually, and so we don't bring that up. So I think we always got to share with regard to what is happening right now to African children who are located in what we know as the Congo, in Sudan, and South Sudan, and what's happening there in Ethiopia, and in addition, along with IET for Haiti. So yeah, that's what we want to throw that out there and share that.
No, I think that's important. I think, what we do know is oftentimes the United States will pay attention to a lot of other issues outside of those areas. As a matter of fact, I was in church yesterday. I'm Catholic, by the way, and they did a second collection from the diocese for Latin churches. And I'm like, well, I never hear us doing those things for African churches or Haitian churches, which both countries have a strong Catholic following. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think a lot of times we'll look at Ukraine and we'll look at, those areas, and we neglect
Israel.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Dante. Yeah, and we neglect the conversation when it comes to black skin. So, Dante, any comments on that before we get to our main topics?
No, and I apologize. I don't know too much about it, so I don't like to speak about stuff I don't know about. I'm not one of those people.
I feel you, y'all. I feel you on that. So I'm glad y'all brought that up. So we got time for one more hot topic. Anything, y'all? Any other issues y'all want to bring up really quick before we hop into our main piece?
I mean, but the next thing I'm gonna go to is I think Kamala Harris needs to stop being afraid of doing an interview. Some people might not like the word that I'm gonna say, afraid, but I think, come on, it's about to be 20-something days and you still haven't done a sit-down interview. You done picked your VP. It's time to go ahead, take the lead. You are now, you could possibly be the next president of the United States. You need to sit down and do an interview. Any policy proposals that you once said that you now don't support anymore, which is fine because people change their mind all the time in the world of politics. Sitting your press secretary out or your team to answer the reporter questions, I think that's a cop-out. You're a leader, so you need to tell people why you came to, okay, this is why I'm going to change my mind. And I think the media is doing a terrible job of not holding her to the fire, of making her do interviews. I mean, sit down, let's do a one-on-one interview, and not no full-fledged production that's well edited that she's only putting out, or these rallies where she's reading off her scripts, teleprompter. No, let's put you in the hot box seat and ask some hardball questions.
All right.
And I think that's only fair.
I don't have a response to that. Jesus, anything you want to share about that before we move into piece tonight?
I think that's a fair assessment. I'll just add something else, not necessarily to that, but I think that's a fair assessment, and we don't have to push that any further. I think that's a very cogent point that Dante put up. But I think that we need to be looking at the situation politically here with regard to the failure of infrastructure. Right now, you got folks who are in Bradley Point who are trapped, who can't get out because it is flooded. The Ogeechee River is flooding. In addition to folks in the southwestern part of Chatham County. And so, but we know that people ask me the questions all the time. But I thought we took care of it. I said, yes, that's what SPLOST is supposed to have been doing. But you notice that in many of our communities, in fact, we are where the bellwether for this, that they didn't do anything in our communities. And guess what? People ignored it. And so now you see the people in Bradley Point now trapped, where now they have drones dropping food and other items in Bradley Point. That's in in Chatham County, Georgia.
Right. And that segues right into what we're going to talk about tonight, which is a lot of advocacy and the reason why we should vote. But before we go any further, we do have a message we want to share. And so we'll get started with our message, and then we'll be right back with you all.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
So, Dante, tonight, what we're going to talk about is voter education. You know, we know the election is going on, and we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. But tonight, as we pivot, does voting make a difference? We want to hear this clip, and then after this clip, we'll get reactions. But does voting really
about the kind of change that we need to see at the Board of Education?
I've never been to prison.
Make sure that you vote. Make sure that you vote. Almost half the country still doesn't vote. And again, it's people like, oh, well, it won't make a difference. Well, if you don't vote, it certainly won't make a difference. But that is the only way that we can bring about the kind of change that we need to see at the Board of Education in your local community, with your mayor or your state representative or your governor, your member of Congress, senator, and the president of the United States. That's it. We have to fulfill the responsibility that comes with being citizens of the United States of America.
Do you know how it works in Australia? I think it's an obligation for you to vote.
I believe that's true.
What do you think about that as a policy?
I don't think that it would result in a better outcome.
You mean a more accurate representation of the populace?
Correct. I'm a big believer in free will and making the case for why you should care enough, even about just yourself. Even if you don't care about anybody else in the world, at least care enough about yourself to get informed and be a part of the solution. Make sure that you vote. Almost half the country still doesn't vote.
And so I agree with that, you all. In the recent weeks, I've been talking about voting as an investment. We invest our money, we invest our time, but we want to invest our rights. We want to invest ourselves in this political process. And what we know is, we know people complain. We know people aren't happy. For example, we know Georgia Power charges us too much money, but we won't go out and vote to put people in place to change policy to protect us. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, Dante? I don't understand people. We want to complain and cry and whine and act like assholes, but we don't want to vote.
I mean, I agree. I think people really, it bothers me that people complain and don't try to participate in the process or just try to educate themselves. Like, I'm a Republican. I think a lot of people know that. I'm not going to tell anybody to go out and vote for Republican. I will tell you to go out and do your own research and find out which party aligns best with your beliefs. I think that is very important. And complaining is not going to do anything. There's a lot of people who died for us to have this right, and I think you need to take full advantage of that right. This is just as much as our country as it is a Caucasian person. So you need to be a part of the process. And again, these local elections really matter. Who's the judges? Who's the sheriff? Who's the councilman, alderman, and so on and so forth. You need to be a part of the process. And not only that, get involved in your local precincts, your local Democratic or Republican Party, because that's where you really start to make the change so it can go up to the state level and certain things can be implemented. But you have to get involved of the process. I'm one of the Republicans. When I have any chance to go to the Fulton County Republican Party meeting, I'm very much advocating for legalizing marijuana. I might be the only one sometimes in the room doing that, but I don't care. That's what I want my party to get behind, and eventually we will. But it starts at the local level.
No, I agree with you, and you know, we got Bernard joining us too, in America. But I agree with you, Dante. One of the things that I tell people, sometimes we get afraid, and there are counties where there are suppressed, where there's straight up racism. But don't be afraid to stand alone. There are going to be many times, like you said, I'm an advocate for marijuana too. I think it's absolutely idiotic that it's even outlawed, and it's only outlawed because white men were in competition with the money because they had cotton. Bottom line, that's why it's legal. But Jesus said something a moment ago. He talked about flooding in these areas. Why is that important? Let's use this case study called Savannah. A year ago, property taxes were increased. Rent was increased. People are now being put out of their apartments because that was increased, all for the sake of we're going to fix flooding. Here we are a year later. Property taxes went up again. Rent went up again. Guess why it went up? We're going to fix flooding. Still no question, no presentation about it. All because people put friends in office. Stop being damn stupid. Go do the research. If you see that you have an older person that has been in office all these years and gave you nothing but lip service but pocketing money, why are you putting them back in office? I don't understand that. So Bernard, Jesus, if y'all want to talk about why it's important for us to really start doing our research, putting the right people in office.
Hello, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Hey, brother, how are you?
I'm doing good. I ain't drunk, but I'm doing good now. Just keep it real. Close your mouth, Jamal. Close your mouth. Man, you know what? I've been going from Savannah for 43 years. And the problem y'all still having 43 years later, I just blame leadership with that. I mean, Farrell Street, I stayed on Farrell Street. It got so flooded when we was growing up that alligators was coming out the sewer. I mean, a couple weeks ago, Bernetta, she was at Farrell Street. She was live, and the way the water is, the way, Victory Drive, it seemed to me it's like all the flooding is in our neighborhood that look like us. It seemed to be the last one that they get to, but they can get to the first one, other people. Like you said, RG, it's the leadership, man. Stop voting for your friends and vote for the right people that gonna do the right job. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you, RG, Jesus, Dante, if y'all get a campaign together and y'all run for office, I guarantee you, you'll win. I guarantee you, because at the end of the day, stop putting your friends in position to destroy your life. That's just my opinion and what I see. I'm not a politic person. I'm a people person. So I'm for the people. I ain't for it's not about the Republican, the Democrat. It's about the United States of America, of us. And, something got to change.
I agree with you. Well, let me get this joker back in. I don't think he know how to work his phone, but what we're going to do, we're going to play this next clip. And what it's about, y'all, one of the things I want people to understand is, and we're going to segue to this next video, it talks about public policy. When you're putting a person in office, whatever that seat may be, they are there to develop and advocate for and get past public policies, rules that are in your favor. So, and I'll use this for example. We have a bunch of idiots out there that are out here wondering why transgender people use the damn bathroom they use. Who gives a shit? Who cares? I don't care where you pee, as long as you don't come in the stall when I'm doing it. And so you want people, in my opinion, I'm going to put someone in office who A, is going to do what Tim Walz said and mind your damn business, but two, who's going to be more focused on homelessness, poverty, and less about where people pull their penis out and go piss, right? And so we've just got to keep it real and put people in office that are going to advocate for common sense public policy. And so let me play this video here because it talks about public policy and why that's important in the process.
Public policy is an important way in which governments respond to the needs of citizens. Public policy is the system of laws, regulatory measures, courses of action, and funding priorities that are created by a governmental entity. Governments use public policy to solve societal and economic problems. The policies chosen by a government represent an aggregation of the individual preferences of individual members of society. Public policies differ widely between different countries. In the Netherlands, for example, healthcare is provided free by the state. While in the United States, healthcare is largely operated by the private sector. Countries differ in their solutions to societal issues, such as migration, climate change, abortion, and taxation. Frameworks help us to order and simplify reality in order to understand trends and identify solutions to public policy problems. They also provide a lens through which we can make predictions about the consequences of different possible public policy reforms, and which we can use to suggest explanations for public policy processes and outcomes.
All right. So, Jesus, what are your thoughts? Public policy.
Well, I have to go and share this. And this goes to the Supreme Court. And we talk about what they call levels of scrutiny. And that when it comes down to the state, and when I say the state, I'm talking about any governmental entity, that governmental entities have what are called low levels of scrutiny, because it is the responsibility of all governmental institutions, that be if it is federal, state, or county, or local, or that's municipal, they have a responsibility for health, safety, and general welfare. So that tells you that when it comes down to public policy, you should have public policies that are looking at the general welfare of that particular locale, or they should be looking out for the health and the safety. So when we begin to look at public policy that now is used to basically benefit other people, to basically show disparate treatment, we have to address that. And so one of the ways that we can address it is through our voice with regards to the political voice that we have as citizens. Each one of us have a vote that we can put out there to people. And we always, like on this forum right here, we're trying to influence people to do something. We're trying to get people to do something. And so I'm saying up front to everyone that your government is supposed to make sure that you have general welfare, so to have safety and also health. It is crucial, but we abdicate that responsibility when we don't hold our elected officials accountable. We don't hold our institutions accountable. And that is something that's going on right now. And then we have this great debate with some people saying about voting. So again, you don't realize that your government can impact your health, your safety, and your general welfare.
Well, and Dante, I got a question for you in a moment, but I want to add to what Jesus just said. It's so important. So people right now are complaining about the Georgia Power Bill, which I find so amusing. I really do. Because, the light bill is too high. Well, if you voted in what's called a Public Services Commission election, and Daniel Bryan and I would have won, we were going to advocate to lower your bills. You got to pay attention to what's around you at all times. We pay attention to what smoked meat is on sale at Red and White. We pay attention to what liquor on sale. We pay attention to who got what going on and where the bootleg at. We better pay attention to what's going on that's impacting our lives. Jesus, go for it.
Because I want to add this in.
What?
Because with this election coming up in Chatham County, what is being discussed, at least I am told, that SPLOST is supposed to be on this ballot also. SPLOST, the special local option sales tax, is supposed to be on this ballot right here. And anyone who is looking at this show that's in Chatham County right now, or got people in Chatham County, they'll be insane to support the SPLOST. Because when we look at what is going on, as I say, people in Bradley Point right now, the Geechee River has now flooded, and that people now, they got drones dropping food and other supplies. You got the Red Cross there. So we will be insane because the SPLOST before was supposed to have been taking care of these very issues. So again, the health, the safety and general welfare of the citizens have not been met, but they're going to come to you to dole out another penny, so then that way they can say they have these projects right here that they will benefit their friends who have the engineering companies and the construction companies.
And that's important. You better vote your values. Dante, really quick, I want to go in this direction with this conversation right quick. One of the things that we do know with the two-party system, and I'm going to go to that, and that's going to segue into something different. We know, from my understanding at least, and help educate us, that Republicans, my dad used to say Republicans are about big business, but I think right now Republicans are about states' rights, right? It's about states' rights and pushing a lot of the public policy into the states' rights versus the federal government, the big boys in Washington controlling it, right? Which means the federal government controls it, everybody do it, versus if the states do it, it's up to each individual state. What are your thoughts on that as we think about this upcoming election, and how do you see that impacting how voters should maybe select Trump versus Harris?
So I'm one of those people who do believe in states' rights. I know some people look at it differently. Some people have a mindset of going back to a time of slavery. I think I don't trust the federal government at all. I think it should be limited government as possible. And I think the state, who's actually closer to the people, would be able to decide what is best for those people. But the people, like the gentleman said, they need to make sure that they are involved and educated on the issues. I mean, you can literally go find the ballot before you go vote to study these issues to see if you are in favor for it or not. You can do your research on, your preferred candidate to figure out, okay, who's aligned more best with my beliefs. But I am one of those people who advocate for states' rights. I think people in their own states will determine, what is best for them, because what works in Georgia might not work in California, or vice versa.
Okay, but now what's your response to that?
People need to realize too, every 4 years we vote for a president of the United States. Okay, it's important. Every 2 years is more important, because we vote for people in the Senate, in the House, and all that, and local. So those the most important thing is the local, because if you put somebody in office that really haven't did anything in your community, and then all of a sudden you vote for him to go up to Washington D.C. as a Senate, as a state representative representing y'all, then you got a problem. My thing is this: the best thing that I said that ever happened in healthcare is Obamacare. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people didn't have no healthcare until Obamacare. With me, I got Obamacare. I don't pay nothing. I got a procedure coming, and I give him a card, and that's it. My brother the same way. He paid $10 a month. So us, once we get older, it helped. I mean, because I don't have no, paying $200 and something a month for health care, especially when I know I'm in good health. So, 4 years okay, but y'all got to look at it too. 2 years. That's important right there, because the president can't do no more than what the House and the representative, they can't do no more. They can send it to his chair, they can send it to the table, and he'll vote on it, whatever. But if it don't get past the House, and if it don't go up, that's the problem. My problem is, we need to focus on every 2 years instead of focus on every 4 years, which is important. Don't get me wrong, because this is going to be probably one of the most important presidential race in American history.
That's right. All right, y'all. We got a message, and we'll be right back after this.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
I'm Patty Hewitt, and I'm worried about our future.
Last one?
I think about my grandkids and the belief that they deserve every opportunity. And what you deserve, what coastal Georgia deserves, is someone who cares more about their community than about corporate profits and big pharma.
I'll see you later.
All right, thank you. Small business owners and hardworking Georgians are the heart of our community.
Have a good day.
Not CEOs, not lobbyists, not shareholders. But who's taking care of them? It's time to ask yourself, what do you want from your government? This is our year to stand up against what we know is wrong. No more DC politicians invading our home life. No more racism that kills dreams and spreads violence. And no more corporate greed at the expense of workers' rights and our environment.
So what would be the most meaningful help to you?
I've spent the last 8 years working behind the scenes, mobilizing our communities for positive change. And while that is really important work, I can't stand by and allow the same tired politicians to run this country, the same ones who've neglected the real needs of Georgians. I'm ready to take our seat in Congress so I can fight for you and your families.
I vote for you.
Thank you, my darling. I love you. This isn't about party lines. This is about voting for a better future for more Georgians. Enough is enough.
All right, we're back. And before we go forward, I want everybody to know we're not endorsing any candidate. Any candidate, regardless of party affiliation, can contact Julius Hall, our Black Media Network, and he will do advertising for you on the network. But I want people to know we're not endorsing. These are paid for ads. And so we just don't want, people to get mixed up in that because it's not about that. So welcome, Clinton. Clinton's our third co-host. We got some guests here tonight. But you're right on time, Clinton, because I want to play something now. We've been talking about what it means, really, like Jonte just answered the question around states' rights and the Republican piece, and the Democratic piece and how that all looks. But one of the things we've talked about on here and I want to bring forth today is, why do we have a two-party system that is dominant and basically discriminatory when it comes to third parties? And so you're right on time. Let's play this clip, y'all, and then we'll be ready for the discussion on this piece.
As we know, American politics is dominated by two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. But that wasn't always the case. When George Washington became president, there were no political parties, none. What you may not know is that George was actually anti-party. He hated the idea of parties so much that in his farewell address, he spoke against them, saying, "The common and continual mischiefs of the spirit of parties serves always to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration." Not having political parties was a good idea, in theory. In reality, it didn't work. Washington's successors created America's first political parties. Other countries, like England or France, have multiple parties. But America has pretty much always had two major parties, currently the Democrats and the Republicans. But don't be deceived. There are actually dozens of third parties alive and well here in the United States, like the Libertarians, the Green Party, the Transhumanist Party, the United States Pirate Party, and even the American Shopping Party. While you may not have heard of them, a vote for them could have a huge impact. If a third-party candidate can get just 5% of the vote, their party can be eligible for federal election funds and just maybe shake things up.
All right, Clinton, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, being a member of a third party, what third parties lack is prioritized focus. no matter how good your ideas are, if you don't have passion, if you don't have people that are willing to volunteer for free and get outside of the computer and knock on doors, arrange events for your favorite candidate or whatever, and get the word out physically like they did in the old days, you're not going to gain much momentum. This is the flaw that I've noticed in the Libertarian Party. They think that they can do most things through money and virtual connection. They don't understand that you need volunteers, not people you have to pay, volunteers to go door to door, arrange events, and even arrange debates, forums, and formats. In other words, we need to take a step back and go back to the old-fashioned ways of campaigning. Because people have become desensitized to television, radio, and the internet. Therefore, they just kind of tune it out. Your take on it?
Well, you know, I agree with you. It's interesting. I honestly think that every party, every candidate should be given a conversation, right? So at the local level, we know you ran for city council. How jacked up it would have been if they didn't allow you at the conversation, you know, to present just because you were a third party. You know, for a country that screams freedom and liberty and all these things we scream out, all these buzzwords, and not allow somebody to the table because they don't have a certain voice or a certain number of votes is not cool. Well, I ran for Public Service Commission, Elizabeth Melton, beautiful ideas. But it's just uncool. But yeah, go ahead.
When I attempted to run for the state once more, and I ran in the special election, they wouldn't allow third parties unless they got 6% of the handwritten registered signature of registered voters.
That's so
and that for that district 165 was almost 3,000 people that I had to get handwritten signatures from with their address, their birth date included on the petition. And that requires boots on the ground, which I could not acquire. I think the closest I got was maybe 1,100. I didn't, you know, I just couldn't get on the ballot. And that was a rule made by a Republican. I won't say his name, but you know who. He made it that after the special election, he passed a law in Georgia that if you were a third party, you had to get that many signatures to be allowed on the ballot for a state run, based upon the population of registered voters in that district. And most people, when they give a handwritten signature, they're not going to write their address, their birth date, all of that. They're suspicious.
Yeah, right. Dante, what's your thoughts?
I'm one of those people who believe that, you know, everybody should be able to come to the table and bring their ideas and allow the voters to decide on which path they want to go forward with. So I'm in disagreement with that Republican Clint or anybody in power to say that we shouldn't silence anybody from the Green Party, Independent Party, Libertarian Party, or some of these other parties that was mentioned I didn't even know or heard anything about. I think, you know, everybody, if somebody decides that they want to run for office, okay, their name should be on the ballot. They should be on the debate stage. They should be given the same resources and tools and opportunities that the Democrats and the Republican have, and let the voters decide, okay, you know, who is the best person. I think silencing anybody idea, it only hurts. Because, you know, sometimes even when I talk to you and Clint, I'm like, oh, that's actually a good idea, and it persuades me. And I think that's the whole point of debates and talking to people. Most of my friends are Democrats, and, you know, I hear them out, they hear me out. Sometimes we like each other's ideas, sometimes we don't. You know, it's a healthy conversation, and it helps us be a better country, in my opinion.
I agree. Bernard, what are your thoughts on that?
What's going on right now is not about, you know, right or wrong. It's about how much you got in your pocket that you're going to bring to the table. It's always about money. It's about money. How much you got in your pocket to bring to the table. 9 out of 10 people that look like us ain't got too many pockets to bring to the table. And let's keep it real. Let's not sugarcoat anything. I'm like yourself. I'm so tired of the conversation about the Democrat, the conversation about the Republican. My conversation is about people. I don't care what party you in. Everybody have a different opinion on things. My opinion may be different than three of y'all on here, but it's not like I'm not going to, crush y'all because y'all opinion is different than my opinion. And my opinion it is, the more money you raise, you gonna win. The less money you raise, you ain't gonna win. And people know for a fact that in Savannah, Georgia, it's more like, okay, let's feed him that, and then he'll do what he'll help us. He'll feed our pocket. It's about pocket in Savannah, Georgia. Believe me. Y'all don't want to talk about it, but it's about pocket.
You're correct. You're absolutely correct. Most of the senators for city council, my arguments against them was they were more concerned about filling their pockets and returning favors than the people that got them in office than they were about helping themselves and their neighbors. What they fail to understand is when you take payoffs or you do favors to people that financially supported you, you're devaluing the dollar in your own neighborhood and you're shooting yourself in the foot. So all the money that you gain is worthless, but if it doesn't have the purchasing power, then somebody's doing people wrong, the constituents wrong. You're doing yourself wrong in the long run. But too many people are short-sighted. They only think about the short-term gain and they ignore the long-term destruction to themselves and their neighbors.
You're right. Yeah.
All right. And one of you all segue to that. We're going to talk about capitalism. I'm going to mute you really quick. I'll bring you back out after the video. We're going to talk about that very idea of capitalism versus socialism when we come back after this message. So hold tight.
Oh, I mean, my friend, your Savannah homeboy, Clarence Thomas, made sure that I don't go to prison.
So Julius is in there talking to Trump. Oh, I'm telling.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
Why did you decide to dress like this today? This is not even your flag that you're wearing.
You like it? I dress for Memorial Day.
Sweetheart, it is not Memorial Day. It is Independence Day.
I didn't care too much for that movie. I think Men in Black was better.
You know what? Never mind.
Why aren't you dressed in your American clothes?
I'm not a patriotic person.
It is not what you do for your country. It is what you did with your country. Wait, was that right?
Yes, that was actually perfect. I can tell you've been watching that Captain America After Dark show.
It is Mr. America After Dark. If you look for that guy trouble, he will give you double.
He actually has enough trouble of his own. This guy goes to the clubs at night, committing all kind of financial sins.
It's a lie. My God will punish you.
And then Mr. Murray, from that financial sins show, he liked to dress up as the Money Mantis. And then he goes right in the club after him and takes him down for those financial sins that he be committing.
Thunder fire you.
understanding of concepts and their impact on our lives. Capitalism and socialism are terms used to describe economic and political systems, as well as schools of economic thought. The main difference between them is the extent of government involvement in the economy. In a capitalist economy, individuals own and control property and businesses. The prices and production of goods and services are determined based on their demand and level of difficulty in production. In a socialist economy, the main means of production are owned and controlled by the state. The primary goal is to ensure a fair distribution of wealth and equal opportunities for all members of society to achieve certain economic outcomes. The state interferes in the labor market in order to achieve this. Make sure to subscribe to Simply Economics to get...
All right, who wants to tackle that first? We've been talking about systems and all of that and how public policy and all this comes together. So who wants to tackle the capitalism versus socialism argument? Go ahead, Clinton.
All right, a lot of people understand capitalism and socialism, and what they always refer to as capitalism is actually fraud, cronyism, and monopolies. And that's not real capitalism. What we have in America, or what we were supposed to have at this decade, was a mid-range economy, a mixture of socialistic programs intertwined with capitalism. But unfortunately, what we have morphed into in America is more like monopolies and cronyism and corruption and fraud. It's not true capitalism. When you have businesses making inside agreements, corporations, and it keeps any new, how I say, entrepreneur from opening a business or keeping a local business afloat, that's not real capitalism. When big pharma breaks up in only 4 or 5 companies, and they all have secret agreements to where a new pharmaceutical company can't enter the mix, that's not real capitalism. That's cronyism. What we need to do is we need to expose cronyism with the press. Unfortunately, the free press has not been doing their job. They've been acting as an arm of public relations for all these corrupt corporations and companies. They're keeping the little girl or the little guy out from entering the business world. So a lot of the things that people think are capitalism and that, see how corrupt it is, that's not capitalism. That's cronyism.
All right.
We really need to expose it by having actual journalists that do their job rather than being paid off to just tell people.
Other thoughts? I'll tell you any thoughts you have on the capitalism, socialism piece?
I had to pull over. I had to pull over with regard to this, and I'm glad Clinton said it, because, and this is why I get really frustrated about, not frustrated, bothered about, again, when I talk about miseducation, entire miseducation of the system. Many of us go and run and talk about capitalism, when in fact, it's not capitalism. It is greed. It's greed and absolute exploitation. But we go and throw the banner out there talking about capitalism, and then we say socialism, and then it becomes the boogeyman type syndrome that people throw out there about with regards to socialism. And people not even understanding socialism. And then when you looked at that video, and when it discussed and say that under socialism, the government interferes with regard to the economic system, guess what? In the system that we have here, that's what happens too. And so I say this all, and see, when I begin talking like this, don't anybody go and say, oh, he got passion. No, it's not. It's purpose. It's divine purpose. I have the responsibility to go and correct this insanity and this madness, because guess what? The government has interfered with regard to economic development for people on the private side. And we have just recently seen what happened with regard to black farmers, that the disparity with regard to the government has played a role in that. They play a role with regard to other farmers that, again, who are not African Americans, who are able to get the benefit, but black farmers have not been able to do that. It is interference. But then if you go and play the game about capitalism and socialism, communism, and all the other isms,
then you fall right into the line. But that's what the society and the oppressor wants you to fall down and engage in a conversation as opposed to being a truth speaker with regard to this and someone that will be incisive and cut through it. Now, I tell people this, if you want to say that you're involved in capitalism, and I had to share this with some people when they discuss about SCAD, when we were saying that SCAD is buying the properties here, and then one of the advocates for SCAD, and excuse the apologists for SCAD when they say, well, that's what capitalism is about. It's about, acquiring the property, they can go and do that. Then I had to let them know there's something that is called social capitalism. So again, but we don't even have those conversations like that. Social capitalism understand that they have to play a role, just like with socialism, that you got to make sure that people are taken care of in the society and that you're fair about it, as opposed to the greed, the gluttony that goes on. We have a system of gluttony. And so anybody going to go and play the game about that, I'm like, I don't have time for the semantics, but I understand why it happened, because that is how oppressive system works, that they will have you not engage in conversations that are absolutely irrelevant or not on point, but they have you think like that's a part of the system of miseducation, because you got to do that in the systems of oppression.
Well, they want to misdirect people so people think that that's capitalism. Like you said, that's not real capitalism. STEM has been breaking the rules as far as I can remember. They're not acting like any type of capitalistic structure whatsoever. And the worst part about it is they have manipulated the system of government to benefit them at the cost of people's family. And they'll keep on doing it until journalists step up and do the job of a real free press and expose inside deals that they're constantly doing. And we also need to advocate for our state and our federal government to reform the 501c mandates. 501c is being abused. I'm sorry, but SCAD should not be allowed to classify as a non-profit 501c. That's my opinion.
All right. Yeah. Dante, I know you had some comments on this. Go for it.
I mean, I am a capitalism person. I don't want the government involved in anything, because when we start talking about the word fair, everybody's definition of fair could be different. And we don't want people to pick winners or losers, because that's not going to benefit people in the long run if you have people behind closing doors picking who should be winners or losers. And definitely it's going to hurt the poor more than anything. I think, I'm somebody who would advocate for capitalism. Start your own business and, promote your own business, sell that product, make that business go, statewide, national. Don't let the government interfere in what you're trying to do. A socialist society, I don't think the government should be involved in anybody picking winners or losers, because it's not a good look. That's my only opinion about it.
But the government's already involved, and they're already picking winners and losers. SCAD's a 501c considered to be a nonprofit, and it shouldn't be. If it wasn't considered that, they would have to pay taxes like any other business enterprise, and those taxes would be utilized to benefit the residents of Savannah. Well, I hope they would. Sorry.
And that's one case. Another case of that, really quick, you all. I'll use Dante. I want to go back to Dante's example. Dante, if you look in California and you look in Atlanta, these big cities, right? We talk about this whole, and I'll use Jesus's piece about how we play with these words. Why is it okay, right, for our government to take our money, our paychecks, and not help feed people who are less fortunate? That's already creating a system of losing. That makes no sense to me.
Well,
how do you answer that?
You know what? Go ahead, Jesus.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because I want to go and say this. It is not as simple as somebody saying, you go start your business. Because I'm going to let you understand right now. Tourism in Savannah, I'm going to pull over because I don't want the sound from the vehicle. I'm about to pull over right now because that's what I was trying to do. And I want to get this out because as a business owner here in Savannah, Georgia, and tourism in Savannah is $1 billion industry. And so it is not, when we talk about, some people say fair, but really what we're saying is about equity. Equity is something different. So, but people go and throw that out there with regards to fairness. Tourism is a $1 billion industry, and the government is involved in it. And also, you have the people who have the wealth who also play a role with regard to that. You don't understand, most of y'all don't even understand the dynamics of tourism in Savannah. It's not about just doing tours, but guess what? People are going to tell you there's somebody who's constantly out there fighting, trying to work on policies in the city of Savannah to make it fair or have equity for African-American tour operators in the city of Savannah. Who is his name? Dr. Jamal Touré. That's what I do. So I'm like telling people, no, they can't come to me about this thing about capitalism and about socialism. Get out here, because I see the interference and I see the commingling of people. I have to get on them about. I see trolley vehicles, trolley companies able to do stuff that the smaller mom and pop operations are not able to do. But then guess who's out there fighting? Sister V, Jamal Touré, because I let them know, no, we're going to sit down with you, city manager. We're going to discuss this right here. Because I go and see it. Then no, don't let me then get into about the alcohol license. The alcohol license do not go to our businesses owned by African Americans. We don't see. So I'm like saying that's a game. It's still all, no matter what label you want to put on it, it is about oppression. It's about gluttony. It's about the rich trying to maintain the system for themselves and to not have any equity or no fairness at all. So as a business person, it's not as simple as that. Even with regards to, when we talk about distribution, say with regards to fairness of the dollars, we have community reinvestment dollars to be right here. You don't see any of us getting the community reinvestment dollars. That's supposed to be tied to capitalism. So I'm like saying, stop this right here and let us be real about this right here and understand it must be an overhaul of the entire system. And so we cannot be honest and clear about this right here. Not the semantics, not the game, not the ideological madness and the craziness. So I'm like saying, oh no, because I see the government and also the commingling of private companies, again, making sure that they're taken care of. But then guess what? The other people, and especially I'm saying for the majority of people in the city of Savannah, we are dinged constantly. Ask Gary Gordon with regards to 520, his business, but again, the fight he got to have about the alcohol license on Waters Avenue, that he got a business next to him that has an alcohol license. So I'm like, stop that. Stop it.
Yeah,
all right,
and he's right.
We'll comment on this.
And you're right.
I'll do last first. Go ahead,
I'm gonna piggyback on Jamal. Jamal, you talk the word right out my mouth. I don't have time to be coming our neighborhood capitalism. No. Our neighborhood, I grew up, we got to survive. We got to survive. Okay, capitalism and SCAN is a development company just sucking Savannah dry.
Amen.
They sucking Savannah dry, and I've been there for a whole year. Man, I seen it all. I had to leave. That ain't the same city that I see. So when they say capitalism, I say, man, it's bullshit. Because at the end of the day, y'all, people that look like this stuff trying to survive. And you're right, the tourists, man, come on. And they give out what? Before I left, and they had a meeting, and they gave out almost maybe 400 something liquor license to different people. And you know how many people look like us had one, probably about one or two. And I called them out. I said, really? Come on now. So let's keep it real. Let's stop being political correct bullshit. Not, you know what I'm saying? I know this is my first time on your show, and and people are saying you ain't shit passionate about me. At the end of the day, I'm telling the truth. I'm telling facts. So when you say capitalism in our neighborhood, don't mention that. Don't even mention it, because it ain't there. We trying to survive. We trying to stop SCAN for coming in West Savannah and buy every property that they can buy, and then put us out of the neighborhood and bring other folks in. Come on now, let's talk about that.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh no, I need to know something. Bernard said something about the alcohol. And again, businesses. Again, let me put that. Savannah is a tourist city. So alcohol is a financial boom for businesses. It is a financial boom. So when they have that alcohol license, those businesses are able to have a boom. But guess what? And Bernard threw it out there. But guess who do not get that luxury with regards to that? Guess who's restricted? Let's go to B. Nicole Bistro, how they did not get the alcohol license. But then guess what? everybody's saying, so how can they be successful? But you have no problem with these Caucasians in Indian businesses getting no alcohol licenses. So that's why I say again, it is a game. So somebody might go and say fairness, but what we may go and say is about equity. And we see right there, it's in our face. So it's not a theory, it's not something fanciful, it's not pretty words, it's not an intellectual conversation. It's about a harsh reality that we deal with, those of us in the trenches doing the grunt work. So no, it is real. But again, alcohol licensing, look at all along the Starlings, how they not expanded the alcohol district. Guess what? Because it's for them to get more businesses. But our people do not get that benefit.
Yeah, Clinton, you had a comment, y'all. We're going to close it out with this last comment. Go ahead, Clinton.
Well, what's most of this, that's how they hold it over people's head. Most of the, I'm not going to name the names, people in city council will only distribute the liquor license if they receive favors. And that's wrong. Everyone should have the opportunity to qualify for a liquor license. And it's just not that way. As you mentioned, the bistro was denied a liquor license, but there's a restaurant right down the block in the same district that was given a liquor license with no trouble whatsoever. Why? Because people had their wheels greased, and therefore they give a favor for one business while they wouldn't allow the same privilege to the other business. It's a rigged game, and it's not fair.
Yeah, and you all are right. And so we're going to do one message, and after this message, I'll kind of close us out, and we'll be back next week. But hold tight for this last message, you all. All right, so we thank all of you all for being on today and for our viewers. So our topic was As the World Turns, and what people need to realize is the world's going to keep turning and public policy will change whether you like it or not. We know this American stupid phrase called pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but what we heard tonight was that everybody don't have a boot, and most of us ain't got a bootstrap. And so it's not fair. You better get your butts out there and vote, and we'll see y'all next time on the political spectrum. Everybody have a great week.
Like this.